they they tell me that I was a terrible baby.
Really?
I kept my parents awake most of the night, and I'm famous for getting mad at my brother Vern the time that I got a little tool chest for Christmas, and I wouldn't let him use it, and so he grabbed my hammer and whacked me on the forehead, which I still have a little scar to prove it. But I was sort of like our daughter Marcia, who's famous for her 3-year-old temperament, and turned out to be the mildest of the mild.
Yeah.
So
definitely grew out of it.
so you can't tell.
Well, now, didn't you also, when you get upset, you bang your head on the sidewalk? Isn't that the story about you?
As a little toddler, I would be standing up and bend way over and bang my head on the ground. So I think I have had intense feelings about whatever subject all my life.
Really?
I remember the time when I was about 12 years old or so, we went on a trip where we were gone for 6 weeks across the country, and we stayed with my aunt in Washington, D.C. suburbs, and my dad was arguing some cases before the Supreme Court, and so we had a great time. Got all the way up into Maine, and then on back, and saw all the LDS church sites of interest along the way, and the major cities, and we'd go from dawn till dark and see every major or some minor university campuses along the way, and check out their football stadiums and stuff like that. Sometimes we wouldn't know where we were going. We just pack up the car, throw everything, all those kids, and a whole bunch of stuff in the car, and away we'd go, and we'd get down to the end of the road and say, which way should we go, north or south? We'd take a vote. That's how well we prepared.
And would you sleep out just with sleeping bags outside, or blankets and pillows, or where would you stay?
Well, they were just inventing motels at the time. So wherever I don't remember we stayed in any hotels, but just crummy motels, the cheapest ones we could find. Our goal was a $6 a night place. So that's how we traveled. I'll tell you what, you kids were great about the trips we took. There was a minimal amount of complaining, and there was not too much fighting.
Yeah.
So,
I remember that too. I always had to sit up front and keep you awake when we drive through the night. That's what I remember.
That's right.
I have vivid memories of driving through West Texas and listening to crazy gospel radio stations, and everybody else would be asleep and we'd be talking.
You got a good memory. That's the way it was. But I my dad took us on some great trips. I remember when I was young, we had a big black car. It was called a Marmon. It looked like the one that Al Capone drove in Chicago. A long black thing. And that car had no cars had automatic transmissions in those days. They were all stick shift. For the first 7 kids in my father's family, we had no car, and just took the streetcar or a bus, or didn't travel at all. And it was a great treat in those days to take a Sunday afternoon ride with my uncle that had a car. And so anyway, when we finally got a car, my dad had the residuals of poliomyelitis and had one leg that was about 4 inches shorter than the other. And so my dad walked on crutches for 70 years. And the one of the reasons we didn't have a car is because his driving leg, the right leg, was the one that was affected, and so there was no shifting. But finally he found a local mechanic, do-it-all kind of guy that rigged up a gear shift arrangement, automatic shift, using a vacuum tube coming from the engine, and it worked most of the time. But I remember on that trip we were gone to see the World's Fair in San Diego, in San Francisco, and we were gone, at least 3 weeks, I'd say. Circled through San Francisco and went to Los Angeles and San Diego and over to see his sisters in Arizona, and then on home. We got all the way home, and the car worked just fine till we got to 33rd South about midnight on our way home, and the shift gave out. We were stuck there. We had to call my mother's brother. He came down at 1 o'clock in the morning and rescued us and took us home.
You have a memory of a time when you felt down or alone, or?
Well, going through medical school was kind of hard in that I had so little to live on and had to live in such crummy places and get by and kind of a sparse diet.